I'm not as accomplished as the other people who came on stage, nor am I such a great speaker. I brought along a lot of cue cards to help me, but I thought I'd better not fumble with them. But one thing I assure you, I'm not going to give you exercises to stand up or to demand that everybody comes on stage. I heard about this topic which says, brilliant, thanks. This topic which said, take a stand. So I requested Eddie if I could come and talk about people who take stands for various things. And he was kind enough to accommodate, and so here I am. I know Winston Churchill once said that you have enemies, that means you stood up for something at some point in your life. But I'm telling you, it's all right not to have a stand. It's all right to be a very chilled out person without a stand. Because with social media right in your face, everybody thinks they have to have a stand. They need to have a stand. They have to have an identity as a stand because they look here, he's got a stand. Then they look here, she's got a stand. So what do? I don't want to be left behind. So I will take a stand, right? So what are the things they take stands about? Anything and everything, something which somebody posts on Facebook, something outrageous. So they go and the easiest way to take a stand is to press like and then put your expert comments under whatever is posted there. And most people select their topics to take a stand on based on the person who's initiating it. If it's a very pretty looking girl who's got some issue which she wants to put a stand on, about 350 likes in an hour. If it's a guy like me who's got a very driven thing which I've studied over 25 years, I put something very, very heavy on me, about 17 likes in 3 days. That's how much we get support for our stand. Now, what else do people do while they take stands like this? Of course, we have this sarcastic comment. I've seen that it's so true. It says, oh, you have a red dot as your profile picture for 1 hour. You must be a social activist. And what else do they do about that stand? Sweet nothing. Okay? And I'm also okay with that crowd of people. Okay, they take a stand, they do something on the net, end of story. What I'm bothered about are those people who take a stand and do something about it, just go on to pass their opinions, their comments, their judgments about some issues, which are completely counterproductive with disastrous results to that particular cause. And here I'm not even including those people who have a premeditated plan or a scheme when they take up a stand for an issue. I know of people who start off orphanages to make money. I know of people who start off environmental agencies and eventually go and harass industries saying, I'll bring this to light, I bring that to light, or you pay me so much money. Same thing happens in animal welfare. Same thing happens in so many fields. I'm not even talking about those people. I'm talking about those well-meaning people who take stands but do uneducated things, which end up with a lot of counterproductive results. Okay, and these are the people I'm here to talk about, and in two fields that I have been very deeply involved. One is animal welfare, and the second is in wildlife conservation. In animal welfare, everybody wants to work with stray animals. Now there are so many NGOs, so many things, they want to take a stand on something and they get very aggressive, and and if you say something which is very realistic, then you're branded as a ruthless person. For example, my stand has always been that there should not be any stray animals, particularly stray dogs. And then all these people who work towards stray dogs, they just get so aggressive and pounce on me and say, oh, I thought we were an animal lover, and look at what you're saying. You don't want the stray dogs, you want them removed from the streets? And these are all people who are driven by NGOs which ape a foreign module. They are not talking about the present situation. In India, we have so many stray animals. There are thousands and thousands of dogs on the street. I'm saying, you come out with me on any one of those roads which lead inside or outside the city. I will show you 10 dead dogs on the road. I'm telling you. And are you telling me that each of the dogs which got hit on the road died there, I am telling you, for every dog that died on the spot, there are 10 more dogs which are dying very, very painful, slow, miserable deaths on the roadside because they get hit in the face, they got hit on the back, and they got hit everywhere else. Okay? And there's nobody to rescue them because there are just too many. Because we want them to be there because it makes us feel good that we don't eradicate them. And what's more, they spread infections. They are carriers of disease. You see thousands and thousands of dogs with skin infections, unbearable skin infections, running around wild because they can't do anything to help themselves and eventually die because of those skin infections, and they carry parasites. There are dogs which carry other digestive infections, very virulent viruses which kill populations of dogs. And this whole thing is expected to be there just because the pharmaceutical industries, which give a few tidbits to these agencies, want them all happening there, because if you completely remove the stray animals from the streets, it's going to result in a collapse of their business by about 90%. And again, talking about stray dogs, there are these animal birth control programs. Crores and crores of rupees have been spent. The newspapers are screaming about how much of funds are going into these programs. I only can see the reality that there are, from 40,000 dogs 3 years back, there are 100,000 dogs out there on the street. Okay? And there are these animal welfare organizations which do adoption programs, pet adoption, though you want to give puppies to people. Fantastic. I know it feels really good if you can find a home for a puppy. Those individual cases are wonderful. It's nice when somebody adopts a puppy which is not wanted. But that's not the answer to the solution. I mean, that's not the solution to the problem. The problem is much, much larger, and that needs to have a scientific, a concerted, and a sustained effort. Otherwise, there are going to be so many more unwanted puppies compared to the few that you'll find homes for. And these are the people who want to say, they go on an aggressive campaign against people who have pedigreed dogs. They want so much to do about finding homes for the unwanted mixed breed dogs on the street, that they get very aggressive with people who have pedigreed dogs, which is very sad because they don't realize that it's never going to happen. People who like pedigreed dogs will like pedigreed dogs. Okay, and just by trying to stop that, you're not going to find more homes. What you should be actually doing is you should be addressing the puppy mills where they commercially have lots of dogs and breed all that, and not just go against the breed. These are people who know about it completely, but they just like to make issues of things which are spectacular because they want TRP. And these are the same organizations which take animals from the street with injuries and all that and post pictures and ask for donations, which is very, very, very sad. It's just like the street children scene in Bombay. There are about 250 NGOs working for street children, employing 5,000 people, moving 500 crores. They don't want a solution for it because what will happen to these people? They just want funds, they want more funds, they want more funds, they want to continue working for street children. That's what's happening in animal welfare in India also. And most of these people take very ridiculous, unrealistic stands in animal welfare. They all want to promote vegetarianism. I'm telling you, it's not going to happen. There are government departments of animal husbandry which are promoting meat growth. There are so many people who would like to eat meat. So what you should be addressing is not trying to convert everybody into a vegetarian, because that's going to be a huge waste of money, energy, and you're going to go very aggressively against certain sects of people. What you should be doing is to try and educate people on the right methods of taking animals, transporting meat product animals, and right methods of slaughter. That would be constructive. And again, when it comes to wildlife conservation, now everybody wants to talk about wildlife conservation. And if you are a wildlife conservationist on Facebook, what do? Get yourself a fancy camouflage shirt first and post lots of pictures of you in wild places, and then try and find fault with everything that happens. Constantly keep posting something or the other. And one of the things which, before I come to why I came here, I wanted to talk about this current issue of this tiger in Ooty. Everybody talks about the tiger, and I saw some ridiculous comments on the net. Oh, the wildlife authorities shouldn't have shot it, they shouldn't have done this, they should have tranquilized it. Somebody said, oh, they should have caught it and left it off at a place like Sundarbans, where there are a lot of man-eaters. So it's all right for it to go and eat men there. And they have no clue what the ground reality is. It's not like and they say, oh, they should just go. It's easier said than done. Why don't you go there and try and do something? These are all people who take a stand with no education whatsoever of the issue, have no clue about ground realities, just want to make a noise and then try to garner some support for themselves and then have that holier than thou feeling that they've done that good thing. Same thing again with bird release. If you get me started on all the ridiculous things that happen about well-meaning people taking stands for animals, I could go on till 9 o'clock. Bird release programs by certain communities who feel it's a very auspicious thing to release birds on auspicious days. They have no clue that these birds have all been starved in cages. They don't have power on the wing. The moment you release them, they're just going to go out and they're going to die. Might as well leave them be in the cages. And they end up releasing non-native birds, pet birds. It's like taking your Pomeranian dog or your pug and leaving it into the jungle saying that's a canine. It's as ridiculous as that. And the reason why I'm here, I expected to make a point, is that now I live in a place called Sirvani in Coimbatore, where there's a group of elephants which have migrated into that area. And this group of elephants had a calf on my property on the 10th of December 2010. So I have a kind of attachment towards that particular calf, which I somehow think I own it. I don't own it, I know I don't own it. And these elephants don't belong there. These have all been traditionally agricultural lands, and these elephants have migrated from the Kerala side where there has been some quarrying, so they decided to migrate here and they've ended up being crop raiders. Oh, now I have to show you some pictures. Okay, those are the sad stray dog pictures that I was hoping to show you. Fine. And these animal welfare agencies, anytime the corporation or the government tries to take on some concerted scientific approach towards it, just mobilize a whole lot of very affluent people, go there and stall all activities whatsoever. I'm completely unmindful of the fact there are 60,000 dog bites that happen in Tamil Nadu alone per year, and the fact that the dogs cause fatal accidents on the roads. The dogs defecate and mess up the place. And the dog bite issue is a big thing for most of the lower middle class people whose kids have to walk on the street. It's very, very convenient for people to just sit there in their fancy homes and say, oh, you shouldn't permit them to kill the dogs, you shouldn't permit them to do this. And every time there's a local pressure to any municipal guy and he just says, okay, let's do away with a few dogs, he's compelled to do it in an unscientific, cruel way simply because they are not offered any more humane methods of doing that. And then these people kick up a big thing, get lots of funds from people, go and instigate their sentiments and then try to get more funds for their agencies because they don't want the problem to be solved, they're just trying to show how big they are. Which is why in Tamil Nadu we still have a huge population of stray dogs which suffer, which make people suffer, but these few people make some money and get an identity and behave holier than thou. And they refuse to come for debates or conferences or anything like that, because they know that's the fact. Okay, that's the herd of elephants. I clicked that picture close to my place. And what has happened is these elephants have become crop raiders. Over the years, the wild animals also learn so many things that they decide that it's easier to go and raid crops, to go into human habitations, deep inside human habitations, and then eat crops like corn. I've seen elephants in broad daylight go and pick only the ripe tomatoes from a tomato farm, from a field. And that's not their natural food, but they enjoy doing things like that. And these are damages which elephants have done in that neighborhood. And what I'm trying to show here is this is by no means the elephant corridor. And for all these newly cropped up wildlife conservationists, the third floor armchair conservationists who don't go out there and figure out what's there in the field. These are the guys who say, oh, this elephant corridor has been infringed on. These have never been elephant corridors. You see the size of the trees. These trees have been planted many years back. Till 10 years back, there were no elephants there. They have migrated from elephant corridors which have been infringed on elsewhere, and they've become crop raiders and they're doing this damage. and one over-enthusiastic so-called conservationist from Coimbatore goes on to get an article published. He's taken a strong stand for nature and wildlife conservationists, and he's come up with a stand. He convinced an irresponsible newspaper to just publish something because it looks, and you know how the press is, they will just publish anything and everything without due diligence to it. There are some ridiculous things which come on the press just because somebody fanciful took a stand and they thought it was nice to carry it. And therefore, one gentleman has got this article published in the newspapers saying that all these areas are elephant corridors because that's their favorite word, elephant corridors. And therefore, all agricultural activity in these areas should be stopped and we should let the elephants have a free run. And this came in the local newspapers and has infuriated the locals. It's infuriated the locals, and I spoke to one of the locals, and that has devastated me and put me in the position of a very worried man, which is why I stand in front of you, because that man in Tamil, in the local dialect said, in the elu urpudi varradanaal dana prachana. He said, these 7 are the problem. Sayam they charsanika potta poche, which means let me poison. Sayam they say is poison, and I'll poison some pumpkins and throw it in that area, and those elephants will all die out, and that solves the problem for everybody. And there, I tell you, we don't have the machinery to stop it. We don't have enough manpower in the forest department. They don't have any enforcement people. The people just managed, they just were chasing away elephants and they were minding their own business. But one of these guys who take a stand for wildlife goes and carries this kind of a needling thing into their thing, which upsets them. I'm telling you from the part of the farmers there. It's very convenient for us to live in our cities and say, oh, elephant corridor, people have encroached. Of course, everybody is encroached. Besant Nagar was not there 20 years back, 100 years back. It was like prime turtle breeding area. Can we just demolish Besant Nagar and let it be turtle breeding areas again? We cannot. We have to get real about this. We have to see how to solve the problem in the current context and try and see if we can discourage the elephants from raiding crops, have a better machinery, which the forest department tries to do. But when these kind of ridiculous guys come and get these situations inflamed, I don't want to see that baby elephant die. I really don't want to see that die simply because some guy who lives away inside the city came up with some fantastic article which got published and infuriated the locals. So what I'm saying for people who take stands for animals is that first take a premeditated stand. Just think of what you want to do. In fact, my first picture was of that man who came and stopped the tanks in Tiananmen Square. It just was an impulsive thing. What I'm saying is don't take a stand like that. So this guy comes and take a committed stand. And when you take a stand, take an educated stand. Just see what the problem is and see what the solution is, and don't work for TRPs. And then take a realistic stand. Don't try and convert the whole world into vegetarianism, or don't expect everybody to be as noble as you are, because mankind is not like that, let me assure you. And take a progressive stand. It's no point just taking stands and not doing sweet nothing about it. Do something progressive, because the smallest good deed is greater than the greatest good intention. And then, for heaven's sake, my friends, in the animal welfare fraternity, take a selfless stand. Don't look for awards. Everybody is already, they form a clique, okay? And then they say, okay, yeah, I think we'll all support you to get that award. Oh, that award, this award. And everybody's into awards, for heaven's sake. It just drives me nuts. So when people who want to take stands for things like that, I request you on behalf of my baby elephant, please go elsewhere and take a stand. There are so many other things. Go there and take a stand, maybe for gay rights, maybe for, gender equality at workplace. There's so many other topics, boss. Just leave us alone. Don't try to take a stand on nature's behalf, on wildlife behalf, on animal behalf, which infuriates people, which infuriates the players, and then gets it all being counterproductive. I know it's not been a great positive talk here, but that's the reality that I have to throw in front of you so that you will know what the facts are. Thanks for being patient and listening.